For centuries, we've been told that the Celts worshipped their gods as literal beings. I don't believe this is true, and I understand that some people might disagree with me, especially those who worship the gods as if they are real entities. I understand that realizing this might not be the case could challenge some deeply held beliefs. For some, it might even feel uncomfortable or unsettling to question the way they've always seen these gods. But for others, it's an opportunity to open the door to a whole new perspective. And who doesn't love a good plot twist? I believe they saw their gods as actual archetypes, much like how Jung described them, as universal symbols embedded in the collective human psyche, representing natural forces, ideals to strive for, or even warnings about what to avoid in life. If that's true, it raises some big questions. What did the Celts believe about the afterlife? If their gods weren't literal beings, did they think we'd go somewhere after death? Or was it more of a Groundhog Day situation with reincarnation? One concept that rarely gets discussed when it comes to Celtic, and particularly Brythonic beliefs, is the three concentric circles, an idea that expresses insight into their ideas about life, death, and the soul's journey. This is my personal belief, and I think there's a reason this concept has been left on the historical shelf gathering dust. Certain powers throughout history have wanted to control populations. If we truly understood that we are eternal beings, we'd have no fear. After all, if you realized you were an eternal being and that heaven and hell were more about control than truth, you might start asking awkward questions, and no one in charge wants that. But before I go all X-Files on you, let me first explain the Brythonic Celts' vision of the afterlife. It's a fascinating and at times complex belief system, but it's key to understanding their worldview. Earth, Abred, the realm of struggle and growth. Abred represents the physical world, right here, right now on Earth. This is the realm of necessity and struggle. Here we experience challenges, learn lessons, and grow through the trials of life. This is the place where our souls get the chance to repeatedly reincarnate, refining our understanding, gaining wisdom, and hopefully learning not to reply to texts with K. Abred or Earth is essential for spiritual growth. It's the testing ground where our souls learn through experience and prepare for the possibility of transcending to a higher state. Until then, welcome to Earth, where every day is a new episode of What's the Universe Got For Me Now? Annwn, the Otherworld, a waiting room for souls. What is Annwn? Annwn is the Otherworld, a mystical realm where our souls go after death. It's a resting place or transition stage before reincarnation or further progression if we still need to learn before transcending. It's often described as a realm of beauty, peace and abundance ruled by figures like Annwn in Brythonic mythology. However, it is not the ultimate destination for us. It is a temporary state. Souls in Annwn are evaluated to determine whether they need to return to Abred, which is Earth, to continue their spiritual growth, or if they have transcended the cycles of struggle and reincarnation. For most of us, Annwn is a waiting room where we prepare to reincarnate and return to the challenges of Abred. Gwynfyd, the realm of bliss and enlightenment. Gwynfyd is the realm of spiritual enlightenment, joy and eternal youth. It is the reward for us transcending from Abred, where our soul no longer needs to reincarnate and can experience harmony and bliss. Think of it as the cosmic "you made it" moment. It represents a state of higher consciousness and progress, where our soul achieves a deeper understanding of existence and aligns with the cosmic order. This is different from Annwn. Annwn is a transitional realm, but Gwynfyd is a permanent state for those who have transcended the cycles of reincarnation. When our souls reside in Gwynfyd, we no longer return to Abred or Annwn. They have graduated to a higher state of being. No more reincarnations, no more earthly drama, just pure cosmic chill vibes. Tir na Nog, while more common in Irish mythology, is sometimes seen as a poetic representation of Gwynfyd. It's more commonly associated with Irish mythology, but you can think of it as the idealized paradise where everything looks perfect, sparkles a little, and probably has zero Wi-Fi issues. Known as the land of eternal youth, Tir na Nog is a mystical realm of everlasting beauty, joy and abundance, free from sickness, aging and death. It represents an idealized afterlife or paradise, reachable through magical journeys or portals to the other world. While it captures the imagery of eternal youth and joy, Gwynfyd carries deeper spiritual connotations of enlightenment and cosmic harmony. Ceugant, the circle of infinity and divine unity. Ceugant is the final stage of our soul's journey, where our soul achieves unity with the divine essence. It represents the circle of infinity, beyond all comprehension or material limitations. In Ceugant, the soul dissolves its individuality and becomes one with the universal source, the ultimate goal of existence, a piece of God finding its way back to himself. In Ceugant, there's no more you or me, it's pure oneness, where all dualities and distinctions are transcended. You don't even get to keep your name badge. Individuality is a thing of the past. It is beyond even the joys of Gwynfyd, representing the eternal and infinite nature of the divine. While Gwynfyd is a state of enlightenment and fulfillment, Ceugant is the absolute culmination of existence, where the soul becomes part of the eternal divine fabric of the cosmos. The complete journey, Earth, Abred, the realm of struggle, learning and reincarnation. Here our souls face challenges to grow spiritually. Annwn, the Otherworld, a transitional realm where our souls rest and prepare to reincarnate in Abred if we haven't transcended. For those who are ready, Annwn is the gateway to Gwynfyd. Gwynfyd, the realm of bliss, a higher state of consciousness and enlightenment, free from reincarnation. Souls here experience eternal joy and harmony with the universe. Ceugant, the circle of infinity, the ultimate state of divine unity where the soul becomes one with the infinite and eternal essence of the cosmos. So hopefully you have an understanding of the path we are on in our journey we can continue. The biggest challenge we face when studying the history of the Celts is the lack of written evidence. The Druids were forbidden from writing down their teachings, relying instead on oral tradition. Or maybe they just hated paperwork as much as the rest of us. In fact, according to Julius Caesar, it could take up to 20 years to memorize everything, as there was such an incredible amount of knowledge to learn. This means that the Brythonic Celts primarily passed down their beliefs and practices through spoken word, making their traditions harder to trace today. Fortunately for us, Julius Caesar and other Roman writers documented many accounts of the Celts, including their druids and their beliefs about the afterlife. These writings give us a glimpse into their ideology and practices, even though they come from an outsider's perspective. The Romans even wrote about the concept of reincarnation, which ties neatly into the three concentric circles spirituality. So, let's take a closer look at what the Romans thought about the Celts' beliefs. Just remember, they might have been a little biased. Conquering tends to do that. Roman observations of Celtic afterlife. Julius Caesar, Commentarii de Bello Gallico, Book 6, Chapter 14.
Their doctrine is that the soul does not perish, and that after death it passes from one body into another, and this belief, they think, tends greatly to inspire courage, as it frees men from the fear of death.
Caesar attributes the Druids' teaching of reincarnation to the Celts' remarkable fearlessness in battle. This belief aligns with the concept of Abred, the cycle of struggle and reincarnation in Druidic philosophy. Diodorus Siculus, Bibliotheca Historica, Book 5, Chapter 28.
The doctrine of Pythagoras prevails among them, teaching that the souls of men are immortal and live again after a fixed number of years, entering another body.
Diodorus connects the Druids' belief in reincarnation to Pythagorean philosophy, which also emphasizes the transmigration of souls. This comparison assumes a cyclical view of the afterlife similar to the Three Circles ideology. Lucan, Pharsalia, Book 1, lines 450-458.
You, Druids, once again set out to disclose the truth of the universe and the gods. Deep in secluded groves you teach that souls do not go to the silent world of Erebus or the pallid kingdom of Dis, but instead the same spirit animates new limbs in another world. Death, if what you sing is true, is but the midpoint of a long life.
Lucan explains the Druids' belief in reincarnation and contrasts it with Greco-Roman concepts of the afterlife, such as Erebus and Dis. He explains the continuity of the soul, which perfectly aligns with the transition through Abred and Annwn before reaching enlightenment. Strabo, Geography Book 4, Chapter 4, Section 4.
The Druids have made the people believe that souls are immortal and that there is another life after death. On this account, they hold heroic courage in battle and are fearless in the face of danger.
Strabo reiterates that the Celts' belief in the soul's immortality inspired fearlessness. This courage likely stemmed from the understanding of death as a transition, not an end. These Roman accounts of the Celts' afterlife beliefs give us a glimpse into the ideological foundation of the three concentric circles. These accounts align with the concept of Abred, where the soul cycles through struggles and growth. The journey through Annwn, a kind of spiritual layover, and the eventual transcendence to Gwynfyd mirror the Romans' descriptions of immortality and spiritual progression. Sure, it is all filtered through a Roman lens because, of course, the Romans couldn't resist putting their own spin on things, but these writings still affirm the core ideas of Brythonic Celtic spirituality. Credit where it's due, even if it's coming from the guys trying to conquer you. Now, here's the part where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean political. I firmly believe there's a compelling argument that the Romans and later Christian missionaries deliberately used Christianity as a tool to disrupt Celtic beliefs and gain control. History shows clear patterns of how religion was often used to manage and assimilate conquered peoples, and the alignment here is hard to ignore. I also believe this is one of the reasons Christianity continues to be promoted to this day. If we were to wake up and truly understand that we are eternal beings and that heaven and hell are constructs designed to control us, those in power would have a full-on existential crisis. Because let's face it, fear is one of their greatest tools. No fear, no control. Roman writers like Julius Caesar, Strabo, and Lucan noted that Celtic belief in reincarnation gave them fearlessness in the face of death, making them formidable warriors. The Romans understood this and sought to dismantle Celtic beliefs. Their strategy wasn't just military, it was cultural and spiritual, targeting the Druids, who were the guardians of this knowledge. Julius Caesar said,
This belief tends greatly to inspire courage as it frees men from the fear of death.
For the Celts, death was not an end but a transition, which allowed them to fight with a level of bravery that was hard for the Romans to counter. Christianity introduced the concepts of eternal reward, heaven, and eternal punishment, hell, creating a linear, fear-based view of life and death. This replaced the Celtic cyclical belief system, which emphasized reincarnation and the soul's continual journey. The fear of hell was a powerful psychological tool to break the Celts' spiritual resilience, and unfortunately, it still is today. Christianity was structured, hierarchical, and tied to the Roman state. It required one God instead of many, simplifying the belief system and a clerical authority, which aligned well with Roman control. This manipulation made it easier to govern a population with unified religious doctrine, rather than managing a diverse and decentralized pagan system. The Romans often allowed conquered peoples to maintain their religions, but Druidism was an exception. The Druids were suppressed because they were not just spiritual leaders, but also political and cultural figures capable of rallying resistance. By suppressing the Druids and promoting Christianity, the Romans could weaken the cultural identity of the Celts, and as a result install fear through a poisonous religion. After all, it's a lot harder to organize a rebellion when your spiritual leaders have been sidelined and your gods have been rebranded. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Christian missionaries like St. Patrick in Ireland and others in Wales and Scotland built on this foundation. They cleverly absorbed Celtic practices into Christian rituals because if you can't beat them, co-opt them. Take Bridget, for example, once a beloved Celtic goddess of healing and poetry. She got a makeover as St. Bridget, complete with her own feast day. They encouraged the abandonment of the other world and reincarnation for the heaven-hell dichotomy, which offered moral incentives for compliance and the fear of hell for not staying in line. Roman records, such as Tacitus's account of the invasion of Anglesey, describe the violent destruction of Druidic strongholds. This wasn't just military but also spiritual warfare aimed at eradicating the cultural backbone of Celtic resistance. After the Roman period, missionaries systematically converted Celtic societies. They rebranded local deities and festivals, for example, Samhain became All Saints' Day or Halloween, and they built churches on sacred Celtic sites to replace the nature-based spirituality with Christian worship. You've got to admire the audacity. Your sacred grove? Yeah, that's a church now, and no, we're not sorry. Reading the Roman accounts would suggest they consciously used Christianity as a weapon to break Celtic resistance. The historical trajectory supports the idea that Christianity's fear-based theology and centralized structure was a way to control the Celts. By replacing a belief in reincarnation and spiritual cycles with eternal reward or punishment, Christianity disgracefully ruined the Celtic worldview, making it easier to govern and unify these once fiercely independent people. The next written evidence we have of the three concentric circles comes from Taliesin, a renowned poet of the Brythonic Celts, who composed his works around 550 AD during the time of Urien of Reged, a powerful king in what is now northern England and southern Scotland. Taliesin wasn't just your average bard, he's a bit of a historical and mythological enigma, like a medieval mix of Shakespeare and Doctor Strange. His work is packed with mystical vibes and poetic mic drops, blending real-life events with all the drama of Celtic spirituality. His poetry is celebrated for its depth and complexity, combining together themes of transformation, reincarnation, and spiritual progression, all of which align closely with the concepts of Abred, Gwynfyd, and Ceugant. Transformation and reincarnation. Abred Taliesin frequently describes his soul's journey through various forms. This is the concept of Abred as the realm of struggle and reincarnation. From the Battle of the Trees.
I have been a multitude of shapes before I assumed a consistent form. I have been a blue salmon. I have been a dog. I have been a stag. I have been a roebuck on the mountain. I have been a grain in the earth.
This passage illustrates the soul's progression through different states of existence, a central theme of Abred, where the soul moves through lower forms of life to eventually reach human consciousness. Taliesin's descriptions emphasize the evolution of the soul through learning and experience, mirroring the cyclical nature of Abred as a realm of struggle, growth, and reincarnation. Enlightenment and higher consciousness. Gwynfyd. Taliesin's work often conveys a sense of spiritual transcendence and enlightenment, aligning with Gwynfyd, the realm of bliss and higher understanding. This is from The Song of the Wind.
I am the wise in solitude. I am clear. I am strong. I am the sleepless sentinel of Caer Sidi.
Caer Sidi is often interpreted as a mystical place, referring to Annwn or even Gwynfyd. Taliesin's description of himself as wise and clear reflects a state of enlightenment achieved through spiritual progression. These lines suggest a state of elevated consciousness, consistent with Gwynfyd as a higher realm of existence where the soul achieves harmony and spiritual fulfillment. Unity with the divine. Ceugant. Taliesin frequently alludes to the soul's ultimate goal of unity with divine forces, reflecting the concept of Ceugant, the circle of infinity. This is from the Chair of Taliesin, Cadair Taliesin.
I was formed from the ninefold elements, from the fruit of fruits, from the fruit of the primordial God, from primroses and hill flowers, from the flowers of trees and shrubs, from earth, from an earthly course when I was formed.
Taliesin's poetic imagery mirrors a cosmic unity with the divine. This is the essence of Ceugant as the ultimate destination where the soul transcends individuality and merges with the infinite.
Perfect is my chair in Caer Sidi. Plague and age hurt not him who is in it.
This reference to Caer Sidi, interpreted as Annwn, or a metaphysical place of wisdom, shows Taliesin's awareness of the soul's journey through spiritual stages, aligning with the transition from Abred to Gwynfyd and beyond. His writings are a cornerstone for interpreting the three circles within Brythonic cosmology. What we've lost and what we can reclaim. I try not to go off on a 20-minute rant here, but I genuinely believe that society has been deeply shaped and in many ways hindered by the fear that Christianity instilled into people for centuries. We've been conditioned to believe in the idea of an external saviour, someone who will eventually come and rescue us from the mess which has been created. But here's the hard truth, that saviour isn't coming. This kind of mindset turns people into cowards, convincing them that as long as they are saved, they'll go to heaven and everything will somehow work out. Meanwhile, as they wait, the world metaphorically burns around them, and those with darker intentions slowly take control. Now imagine if, instead of being told to wait for salvation, we were taught from a young age about the 3 concentric circles. This incredible Celtic ideology teaches us we are eternal beings on a journey of enlightenment. Life isn't about fear or judgment. It's about growth, learning, and refining our skills as we move through existence. If people truly understood that death isn't the end, but just another stage in the journey, they would have far less fear. That tight grip of control, imposed by systems designed to keep us in line, would begin to loosen. What kind of world would that create? Without fear, we would feel more empowered to stand up for what is right, to take responsibility for our actions, and to focus on improving ourselves and the world around us. Instead of waiting passively for redemption, we would see life as an opportunity to actively contribute to the cycle of growth and harmony. Connecting with these ideas would transform us, not just individuals, but society as a whole. By embracing the wisdom of the 3 concentric circles, we can rediscover a way of living that's grounded in courage, responsibility, and interconnectedness. Imagine teaching children that they are here to learn, to grow, and to evolve as eternal beings. It would be a complete shift in how we approach life, replacing fear and consumerism with purpose and control with empowerment. This isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a path toward a freer, more meaningful way of being. Our ancestors faced countless battles and hardships, navigating a world far harsher than we can imagine today. Yet they endured it all with strength and courage, guided by a belief that death was not an end, but a transition. They lived without the paralyzing fear of finality, understanding that their struggles were part of a greater journey. It was this fearless mindset that allowed them to stand strong, protect their communities, and fight for their beliefs, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and determination. We've lost touch with this kind of thinking, but we can reclaim it. It's time to let go of the fear-based narratives and embrace a deeper understanding of who we are and what we're here to do. The world doesn't need saviors. It needs people who understand their role in the eternal journey and are ready to live boldly and authentically.